Joining us now, our Edmonton bureau chief, Ryan Rishaug. Ryan, the Oilers beat the Stars in 6. Last year's Western Conference final. How is this year's series setting up different than last year?
Yeah, Jay, the script has been flipped heading into this year's Western Conference final. So last year it was all about the Oilers and their dominant special teams against the depth of the Dallas Stars and their quality 5-on-5 play. Well, this year, we've been talking about it all playoffs, all the contributions from the Oilers' depth players, the quality of their 5-on-5 play, while the Dallas Stars actually have the advantage on both the power play and the penalty kill coming into this series. Of course, another big difference from last year, Mikko Rantanen. On any given night, Jay, we know this guy can be every bit as impactful on a playoff game as Connor McDavid, as Leon Draisaitl. So how will the Oilers handle him? Well, I can tell you, Chris Knoblauch put that line of Draisaitl, Kapanen, and Podkolzin together to check Jack Eichel in Game 4 of last series. It worked extremely well. That line continues to practice together, and I can't help but wonder if he's not eyeballing that matchup if he can get it on the road.
We've seen Edmonton superstars get a little bit combative with the media when asked about the team's defensive game. It happened after Game 5 against the Golden Knights after they won their series, Connor McDavid, and then Leon Draisaitl after practice on Monday. What exactly do you read into all of that, Ryan?
Yeah, Jay, just a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, I think, when it comes to their defensive game. Maybe they feel like, in the big picture, they don't get enough credit for being as good a defensive team as they are. I mean, I can say that, the questions that were asked to Connor McDavid, to Leon Draisaitl, were more of a nature of, talk about how good your defensive game is, and yet they still tend to get their back up a little bit. So a little bit of a us versus the world mentality, maybe, keeping the spark going into the postseason. It had been an issue years ago, but hasn't been for quite some time. They've been an excellent defensive team when it matters the most for a number of years, but still it's an area where maybe they feel like they're not getting the respect they deserve. But look, back-to-back shutouts to close out last series. I mean, this team has shown at even strength in tight games, it is perfectly comfortable and can hang with just about anybody on that front. So I like it. Little fire, little juice from the top-end guys heading into the next round.
Ryan, thank you. And now we are joined by our hockey analyst, Martin Biron, to continue to talk about this Dallas-Edmonton series. And as we told you, Mattias Ekholm skated with the main group on Monday. Great news for Oiler fans. Head coach Chris Knoblauch has already said that Ekholm will miss at least the first 2 games of the Western Conference Finals. But when he is able to return, Marty, you have one player specifically that Ekholm's return will be huge for.
Obviously, Evan Bouchard is smiling ears to ears, right? Because he wants stability. In these playoffs, he's played with Nurse, he's played with Wallman, he's played with Kulak. And look, he's got 12 points in 11 games. Evan Bouchard's been fantastic. But over the last 2 years in the regular season, 75% of Bouchard's ice time at 5-on-5 has been with Mattias Ekholm. And the other 25% is because Mattias Ekholm has missed 20 games over the last 2 years. So what do you want when you get to the conference finals and you're playing a team like the Dallas Stars, who have a lot of firepower up front? You want stability. And that's going to help Evan Bouchard create even more offensively because Mattias Ekholm has been that guy to back him up, to read off of him. These two have played so well together last 2 years that I can't wait until Ekholm returns to the ice, returns to the game, and plays on the top pair, eats a lot of minutes with Bouchard, and those two play against the top competition. And obviously, you look at the Dallas Stars. When Miro Heiskanen came back in Game 3 of the previous round, Thomas Harley was the guy that was so happy because Harley had been going through partners, and now he was finding his stable partner that he had in the regular season and the year before. So I think this is all about stability. And look, it's not going to be like the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. This is going to be a tough round. You need everybody. And Evan Bouchard and Mattias Ekholm need to get back together at some point to bring stability to the back end.
Marty, when you look at this matchup between the Oilers and the Stars, is there one area where you see a clear advantage for the Oilers in terms of matchup?
Well, if you look at what happened in the second round, I'm going to say the depth of scoring with the Edmonton Oilers. Look, if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl only had 3 of the 16 goals that the Edmonton Oilers scored, against the Vegas Golden Knights in the 5 games. So I'm looking at the depth of scoring. And what that's going to happen is now if the Dallas Stars are focusing on the depth, it's going to open McDavid and Draisaitl. When you have the best 2 players in the world, and they only had 3 of the 16 goals. At some point, it's going to unlock. So I'm looking at the depth helping McDavid and Draisaitl to produce a ton in this third round, the conference finals. And also, when you look at the Dallas Stars, it has been the opposite for them. It has been Rantanen and Granlund who has scored 7 of the 13 goals that they've scored. The depth has only scored 6 goals out of the 13. So the depth on the Oilers is better than the Dallas Stars right now, and that is going to open your best players to be better than the other best players on the Dallas Stars side. So I'm looking at the depth of the Oilers being able to unlock McDavid and Draisaitl.
As far as the goalie matchup goes, we know how great Jay Onrait is, and we know how great Stuart Skinner was certainly toward the end of that second round against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Marty, we know Calvin Pickard will be out at least the first 2 games of this series, so it's Skinner for the early going. How confident are you feeling in his play in the third round?
I'm confident if Stuart Skinner can continue to do the 2 things that he's been very successful at, is positioning and trusting his size. Like, he's not chasing the game the last couple of games here. I know that they're back-to-back shutouts, and he's not going to be, pitching shutouts for 4 straight games. He's going to give up goals. The big thing is, don't give up bad goals, because with Skinner, it becomes a mental thing. When he gives up bad goals, it seems to unravel. But you got to trust your positioning, and you got to trust your size. That's what he did in the last 2 games against Vegas, and it was a completely different Stuart Skinner than the 2 games in the first round against the LA Kings. But also, this is interesting because I feel like the Oilers, despite going to 2 goalies, they had the better goaltending in the first round against LA Kings and Darcy Kemper. Pickard was a big part of that. And they had the better goaltending against the Vegas Golden Knights in the second round. And both Pickard and Stuart Skinner were a part of that. Now, I don't think Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard will be better than Jay Onrait. But if you're just steady, you can, again, help your depth, help Connor McDavid and Draisaitl open it up. And maybe you can have this, even battle with Jay Onrait at the other end.
Okay, now it's prediction time. We're putting you on the spot, and we're going to start. We want your predictions for winners of both conference finals. Let's start out west with the Oilers and Stars.
Okay, so in the first round, I picked the LA Kings. Well, the Oilers won. In the second round, I picked the Vegas Golden Knights. Well, the Oilers won again. So Oilers fans are going to be happy to know that I'm picking the Dallas Stars in 6 games. I do feel like Jay Onrait and his goaltending is going to be at another level. So for me, it's about trying to beat Jay Onrait. And Mikko Rantanen has been unbelievable. After the first 4 games of the first round, he has been just fantastic. So it's going to be a bit of a handful for the Oilers to stop Rantanen and to try to get through Jay Onrait. So I think those 2 will make the difference. And look, maybe I'm wrong again. And Oilers fans are going to say, well, Marty was wrong in all 3 rounds, and that's fine. They'd be happy. Now, in the East, I've got Carolina. I think that is going to go 7 games, though. But the best goalie in the playoffs so far has been Freddie Anderson. So Bobrovsky was pretty good against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I still believe that Freddie Anderson was and is the best goaltender right now when you look at the numbers in the playoffs, and it will make a difference against the Florida Panthers. And the way that Carolina plays with their depth and their team, they roll 4 lines. They are really good on the forecheck, the shot attempts. I think this is going to be tough for the Florida Panthers after a tough 7-game series against the Maple Leafs. So I got Dallas in 6 and Carolina in 7. I hope that everybody in Edmonton is going to forgive me because I didn't pick the Oilers in the first 2 rounds either.
Buddy, it sounds like, if anything, you're their good luck charm, if you just keep picking against them, right? I mean, they're going to love you in E-Town.
I did that with Vegas in their first year. I didn't pick them any of the rounds, and they got to the finals.
We'll see what happens. Game 1 of the Western Conference Final is Wednesday night in Dallas, Texas. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Martin Biron.